A ring built to turn pure will into light crashed into a universe that believed hope was a crime. Out here, the stars didn't twinkle. They burned like open wounds in the sky, leaking madness. Space itself pulsed with invisible storms. The place humans from his universe might have called deep space had another name here, whispered like a curse. The warp. Hal Jordan shouldn't have been anywhere near it. One moment he'd been on patrol over the Vegas sector, ring humming at a comfortable charge, a routine sweep for smugglers and pirate activity. The next, space had folded like crumpled glass. Sensors went white, the ring screamed warnings he'd never seen before, and then everything was screaming, colors, shapes, concepts, as if geometry itself had gone insane. Warning, the ring had said, voice ragged like it hurt. Non-local dimensional phenomenon. Reality integrity compromised. He didn't remember much of the crossing. Just flashes. A corridor of impossible angles stretching forever, lined with things that watched him without eyes. A chorus of voices promising power, promising peace, promising annihilation all at once. The taste of metal and ashes in a place where no air existed. His constructs warping, fraying at the edges under a pressure that was more idea than force. He'd done the only thing a Green Lantern could do. He clenched his jaw, drove every scrap of will into the ring and pushed forward. Now the storm spat him out. He fell out of the warp like a bullet, emerald light wrapped around him in a flickering cocoon, trailing shards of half-formed constructs that evaporated behind him. Blackness rushed up, not the peaceful, familiar black of his universe, but a darker canvas, pricked with alien constellations. Below, a small moon spun under him, its surface a blur of gray stone and pale dust. The ring pulsed against his hand. Impact imminent. Trajectory, lethal without intervention. Charge at 18%. Yeah, I noticed, Hal grunted. He tried to form a braking construct, a net, a shell, anything, but his thoughts felt sluggish, like they were wading through mud. The trip through the warp had chewed on more than his nerves. It had scraped against his mind, left hairline fractures of doubt in places he'd always assumed were solid. The ring still answered though. It always did. Emerald light flared around him, forming angled plates like overlapping armor. They bit into the thin atmosphere of the moon, dragging at his speed, bleeding kinetic energy into heat. Dust billowed up as he hit, the impact carving a crater into lifeless rock. For a long, secondless moment, he lay there, chest heaving uselessly in a void with no air, ring maintaining a thin oxygen bubble around his head on autopilot. Status, he croaked. User alive, the ring replied. Suit integrity nominal. Charge at 17%. External readings, anomaly. This is not your native universe. Yeah, Hal muttered. I kinda figured. He rolled to his knees and pushed himself up, boots sinking into fine dust. The sky above was a tapestry of black, violet, and sickly orange swirls where the warp breach had been a wound in reality stitching itself shut. It wasn't just a visual event. He could feel it like a storm front in his bones, pressure dropping, something ugly withdrawing. And he hadn't been the only one watching. Tiny flares winked in the distance, low to the lunar horizon, pinpricks of thruster fire, precise, controlled. Hal's ring tagged them instantly, overlaying green symbols in his field of view. Multiple small craft inbound, it reported. Sublight drive signatures. Weapons systems present. Unknown technology profile. Non-warp based. He squinted. 3 sleek craft swept low, kicking up dust. Their hulls were angular and elegant, painted in muted tones of white and gray with markings like calligraphy, all sharp lines and perfect curves. They looked almost humble in a way. Nothing like the brutal, jagged nightmares he'd glimpsed in the storm. They landed in a circle around him with silent grace, no roaring engines, just a deep bass hum that vibrated the dust under his boots. Ramps hissed open. Figures walked out. Humanoid but not human. Tall, lithe, with blue skin and hooves where feet should have been. Their armor mirrored their ships, matte, efficient, no ornamentation for the sake of it. Their helmets were smooth, featureless except for a single narrow visor. Symbols glowed faintly along the plates, not mystical, not religious, but functional, unit call signs, squad designations, tactical tags. The ring's universal translator kicked in, scanning their vocal patterns, their helmets, the device held by the one in the lead, a thin, handheld projector emitting ripples of light. Caution, the ring murmured. Psychic interference minimal. Technology-based translation likely. Threat assessment, high if hostile. Moderate if cooperative. The lead alien stepped closer, no more than 3 meters away. It reached up, unclipped its helmet, and Hal got his first look at the face of this universe. Broad, smooth features. A single slit where a nose would be. Big, dark eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. When it spoke, its mouth formed careful shapes, and a moment later a device at its chest echoed the words in accented but clear English. Unknown entity, it said. I am Commander Shaso Omir of the Tau Empire, Fire Caste. You emerged from a warp breach that threatened this system. Sensors indicate your arrival sealed it. We offer shelter, medical assessment, and the possibility of alliance. Will you accept? For a moment Hal just stared. He'd seen a lot in his career. He'd stood on worlds made of glass, negotiated ceasefires between species that communicated entirely in pheromones, traded punches with gods. But the words warp breach, the way the commander said them, the tension behind the calm, that was new. It wasn't just fear. It was something colder. A practiced, familiar hate. Hal swallowed. Name's Hal Jordan, he said. Green Lantern of Sector 2814. I got dragged through something I shouldn't have. I don't know where I am. I can't feel my core. I can't feel the central battery. I don't even know if it exists here. Omir's eyes narrowed slightly. Around him, the other armored figures, Fire Caste soldiers, if Hal guessed right, shifted almost imperceptibly, their weapons still pointed down but one motion from snapping up. We detected no vessel, Omir said. You came alone on foot from the Immaterium. The warp. The commander's gaze dropped briefly to the ring on Hal's hand. And you carry a weapon that manipulates reality with will alone. That will make you a target. For us, and for them. Them? Hal repeated. The things on the other side of that storm? Omir's mouth tightened. Yes. Chaos. The ruinous powers. Gods of madness and hunger that live in the warp and feed on emotion. You seal the breach. They will have noticed. They always notice. He glanced over his shoulder at the hovering shuttle. Our defenses will not hold if they send more than a raiding band. I would prefer to have whatever you are inside our hull rather than drifting alone when they arrive. Hal could feel the tension hanging in the air like static. The soldiers watched him with the focused stillness of professionals. No bravado, no barking threats. Just calculation. His ring flickered, projecting lines of text in front of his eyes. Oxygen content, viable. Gravity, low. Technology level, advanced. Potential for diplomacy, medium. Potential for ally support against unknown threats, high. He'd been stranded before. He'd survived alone before. But this felt different. That breach had left a scar behind his eyes, like a smudge he couldn't blink away. Whatever lived in the warp had noticed him. He wasn't sure he wanted to face that alone. Hal nodded once. All right, he said. You offer shelter, I'll accept. The Green Lantern Corps protects life. Even in universes we don't understand. The corners of Omir's mouth twitched. Hal realized after a heartbeat that this was their version of a smile. Small. Efficient. No wasted motion. Then come with us, Lantern Jordan, the commander said. There is much you must learn before you decide whether to fight beside us. The inside of the ship, a light cruiser named Photon, was all angles and purpose. No gilded statues, no banners, no carved skulls. Just clean corridors, efficient bulkheads, The hum of systems maintained by people who believed a weapon's purpose was to work, not to impress. Hal sat across from Omir in a narrow compartment that smelled faintly of metal and something like cinnamon. An Earth-caste engineer hovered nearby, monitoring a hololithic projection in the center of the room. A fourth figure, smaller and robed, held a datapad, eyes flicking between readouts and Hal with a mix of curiosity and caution. "I am Fioel Kavash," she said when he looked at her. "Earthcast, Xenolinguistics and Warp Phenomena Specialist. The device you are hearing me through is a translational compensator. It is learning your language." "You're doing good," Hal said. His voice sounded tired even to him. Omir tapped the projection. Space bloomed in midair, not the clean, orderly star maps Hal knew from core charts, but a spiderweb of systems, warp routes, hazard zones. One region pulsed in red, a swirling cyclone of icons that made Hal's skin crawl just looking at it. "This galaxy," Omir said, "is not like yours. Here, faster-than-light travel is only possible through the warp, a parallel dimension of pure thought and malice. Every jump is a prayer. Every translation risks madness or demon incursion. Entire fleets vanish. Worlds burn because someone misjudged a route." Hal watched as the projection zoomed in, focusing on a single world, Volos, and its scattering of moons, orbital platforms and ships. "You emerged near Volos," Omir continued. "A September world of the Tau. 8 million citizens. A keystone in this region. When the warp breach opened, we anticipated a chaos incursion." His eyes flicked to Hal. "Instead we got you. You closed the breach by passing through." "I didn't mean to," Hal said. "It was either that or get torn apart in whatever that place was." "The warp," Kavash repeated softly. "The immaterium. Humans have 1,000 names for it. Few of them are accurate. But all of them are afraid." Hal's ring chimed, drawing his attention. Data scrolled across his vision. Accessing foreign databases. Correlating terms, warp, chaos, demon. Probability of consistent reality framework, high. The ring was adapting. That helped. A little. "So," Hal asked, leaning back, "these ruinous powers you mentioned, they're gods? Real gods?" "Real enough," Omir said flatly. "They feed on emotion. Rage, despair, ambition, decay. They whisper into mortal minds, offer power in exchange for worship. Empires have fallen to them. Civilizations gutted themselves on their promises. They do not want to rule the galaxy, Lantern. They want to unmake it, to prove that all order is a lie." He gestured at the still pulsing red storm on the map. "We fight them with ships and guns and discipline. With philosophy. With an idea we call the greater good. It is not religion. It is purpose. We believe that the collective welfare matters more than individual desire. That unity and cooperation can resist what the warp offers." Hal recognized the tone. He'd heard it in military briefings and Guardian lectures. People who had stared too long into something terrible and clung to the only shield they had, doctrine. "And you?" Omir asked, eyes dropping once more to the ring. "You say you are a lantern. Your power is will. Explain." Hal hesitated. He'd explained the core 1,000 times. To recruits. To alien diplomats. To enemies who deserved to understand just how badly they were about to lose. Somehow, saying it here felt different. "This ring," he said quietly, lifting his hand. The emerald band glimmered, faint now, like a candle in fog. "It's a conduit to the emotional spectrum. Green is willpower. The ability to overcome fear and act. The Guardians built it to turn thought into solid light. Anything I can imagine, I can make. If I have the will to hold it together." He flexed his fingers and a small construct flickered into existence. A tiny fighter jet spinning in his palm, its lines sharp, its wings gleaming. It felt harder than usual, like forcing clay through a sieve. After a second, the construct wavered and vanished. "Normally," Hal went on, I'm plugged into a central battery on OA. Infinite charge as long as I stay connected. Out here? I can't feel it. It's like a limb's been cut off. Yet you still function, Kavash murmured, eyes bright. Fascinating. Your will manifests as physical phenomena, Omir said. That makes you analogous to a psyker. But your power is technological, not purely psychic. Chaos will see you as threat and prize. Let them, Hal said automatically. His voice sounded braver than he felt. The map shifted as the Earthcast engineer input new data. 3 icons bloomed at the edge of the system, moving fast, trailing warped signatures. Contact, the engineer said. Warp translation in progress. Mass profile, 3 vessels. Estimate, cruisers. Chaos configuration. And there it is, Omir said. No surprise. No dramatics. Just weary inevitability. He looked at Hal. You asked what these ruinous powers are. You will see soon enough. The orbital defense platform designated Firewatch 3 was ugly in the way all serious weapons were. No sweeping curves or aesthetic flourishes. Just armored plates, rail cannons the size of skyscrapers, missile silos, sensor spires. It hung above Volos like a silent, dangerous prayer. Hal floated near its command deck in a bubble of green light, watching the void beyond through reinforced viewports. His ring interfaced with the Tau systems, streams of data pouring through him, range, velocity, estimated warp bleed. His charge hovered at 19%, then ticked down as he built a construct in front of him. Not a weapon. An overlay. A 3-dimensional targeting grid that synced with the station's guns, compensating for the way the incoming ships flickered between probabilities. Because these weren't normal ships. They were wrong. They tore out of the warp in a smear of color and hatred, hulls stretching and compressing, covered in symbols that seemed to wriggle even in still images. One looked like a cathedral fused to a battleship, its towers screaming in electromagnetic frequencies, every surface engraved with skulls and burning scripture. The escort vessels were smaller but no less obscene, their armor wrapped in stitched hides, banners of tattered flesh flapping in a wind that didn't exist. Hal's stomach turned. His ring flagged anomalies in angry red. Warning, it said. Local physics compromised in proximity. Hull composition, partially metaphysical. Structural stability, variable. Translation complete, the Tau sensor officer announced. 3 vessels. Primary mass matches known Chaos Cruiser designation. Warp echo suggests demon infestation. They are sustaining partial immersion. Targeting solutions degraded. Degraded how? Shasviari Korit, Firewatch 3's commander, snapped. She stood on the deck like a blade given armor, tall, armored heavier than the rest, a personal shield generator humming faintly at her back. They are not fully here, the sensor officer said, voice tight. Standard firing patterns will have reduced impact. They exist across multiple potential vectors at once. I can track them, Hal interjected. His construct pulsed, synchronizing with his ring's processing. My ring's used to dealing with probability on the fly. Feed me your weapon trajectories. Fire when I call it. Korit glanced at him. For a heartbeat, Hal could feel her weighing him like numbers on a scale. Then she nodded once. Slave primary batteries to Lantern Jordan's data feed, she ordered. All crews on standby. We fire on his mark. The room's noise fell away under a heavy, waiting silence. The Chaos ships slid closer, their movements jerky and nonsensical, like someone dragging them through space by an invisible hook. Warp lightning crawled over their hulls. In Hal's HUD, clouds of probability swirled around them. All the places they might be, all the ways they might twist away a fraction of a second before a slug hit. He breathed in. Now, he said. Firewatch 3 roared. Rail cannons spat tungsten at a fraction of light speed. Missiles streaked into the void in perfect, geometric spreads. Under Hal's guidance, their paths curved, dipped, corrected mid-flight, aiming not at where the chaos ships were, but where they would be when the probabilities collapsed. For a glorious moment it worked. Impacts detonated across demon-plated hull. Armor screamed as physics and force finally bit deep. One escort bucked sideways, its flank torn open, shrieking shapes tumbling out into vacuum, burning like meteors. Confirming penetrations, the Earth-cast tech reported, a hint of awe in their usually flat tone. Primary cruiser hull integrity compromised in several sectors. The lead ship laughed. It wasn't metaphor. It wasn't crew. It was the ship itself, or whatever was riding inside it, producing a soundless roar that vibrated directly in Hal's bones. The viewports rattled. The station structure groaned. The rail cannons stuttered for half a second as operators flinched. Where the shells had hit, light bled out. Not fire. Not atmosphere. Just raw, impossible light. Hal watched, sick, as the wounds in the hull reversed. Not healed. Replayed. The shorn metal flowed back into place. Scorched sections unburned themselves. Debris flew backward, reattaching as if time had been yanked in the opposite direction. Chronomantic reversal. Kavash's voice came over the comm, strained. They have a warp-active sorcerer aboard. A warpsmith or magus. He is undoing the damage. Then we kill the sorcerer, Shasui Kai said from somewhere near the main gun deck. His voice was calm, but Hal heard the hard edge underneath, the same cold steel he'd heard in fighter squadrons before a bad mission. If we cannot outshoot time, we remove the one holding the clock. Hal's gut had already reached the same conclusion. I'll go, he said. Korit snapped her head around. You will what? I board the big one, Hal said. I find your sorcerer. I shut them down from inside. You keep shooting. So when your damage sticks, it counts. That ship is a demon engine, Omir's voice cut in from the photon. It is not mere metal. Its corridors will not obey physics. Its guardian will be beyond anything your training has prepared you for. Hal's throat felt dry. His ring showed 18%. Every construct to this point had cost more than it should. I've taken on worse, he lied. Maybe not this flavor of worse, but worse. Someone has to punch the wizard. I've got the ring. I'm volunteering. Korit held his gaze for a long eternal 2 seconds. Very well, she said at last. We will focus fire on the cruiser's flank, Sector 23. You will have a softened section of hull for entry. You have no more than 3 minutes. We will not be able to spare you additional cover while we hold off the escorts. That's more than generous, Hal said. He pushed off the deck, ring flaring around him in a heading bubble. The airlock cycled open, cold vacuum reaching greedy fingers toward him. He stepped through, and then he was out in the void again, platform falling away behind him, chaos cruiser looming ahead like a malignant god. He flew. Lances of corrupted light knifed past him, beams so hot the ring had to calculate deflection angles on the fly rather than brute-forcing shields. Missiles screamed toward him, their noses splitting open into clusters of howling, half-formed faces. He split himself into a dozen decoys, constructs scattering in all directions, each one carrying just enough solidity to fool targeting spirits. That's right, he muttered. Come on, you ugly bastards. Hit the fake guy. Some of them did. Some of them didn't. One beam caught his left flank, and even through the ring's buffer he felt like a giant had taken a bite out of him. His HUD flashed warnings. Charge ticked down. He aimed for the wound Firewatch 3 had carved. The rail cannon spoke again, guided by his construct. Slugs smashed the same section of hull in quick succession, punishing it faster than the warpsmith could rewind it. Metal shattered, brass and bone blowing outwards in a spray of fragments and dream stuff. Hal clenched his fist, and his construct reshaped itself into a drill, massive, spinning, a solid spear of wool designed to pierce both matter and metaphor. He poured power into it, felt the ring's reserves plunge, 17, 16, 15, 14, and hit. The world shrieked. The ship's skin gave way in a shower of light and impossible fluid. Hal plunged through into hell. Gravity flipped sideways. The corridor he landed in didn't have walls so much as surfaces that pretended to be walls when you looked directly at them. The floor pulsed like muscle. The ceiling bled. Statues watched him from every angle, carved saints and flayed martyrs and leering demons, all whispering in a language he shouldn't understand but somehow did. User is inside non-Euclidean structure, the ring said, voice tight. Spatial mapping unreliable. Recommend immediate extraction. Not yet, Hal whispered. His breath echoed weirdly. It took him a second to realize the sound wasn't his. Figures unpeeled from the walls around him, robes unfurling like spilled ink. Human ones, mostly. Their faces were strips of skin stretched over bone, tattoos and scars forming symbols that hurt to look at. Some had too many arms. Some had none, their weapons fused into flesh. They smiled at him in unison. Lantern, they chanted. The words slithered through the air. Light. Oh. Order. Fear. Come, come, come. Hal threw up a barrier on instinct, a flat slab of hard light between him and them. They walked through it. Not as if it weren't there. Not by breaking it. They acknowledged it, pushed against it, and then their bodies decided the concept of solid was optional, and they flowed through the contradiction. Okay, Hal said. New plan. He dropped the shield and went on offense. A giant emerald hammer exploded into being in his hands. He swung it in a tight arc, the head catching the first cultist in the chest and folding him in half with a crunch that would have made him wince in any other context. Here it was just punctuation. The ring drank power, 13%. He shifted tactics again. Constructs formed and reformed around him, blades, gauntlets, spiked chains. Wherever he hit, matter responded. Bones broke. Twisted flesh tore. They weren't immune to physics exactly. They just slipped around anything static. Kinetic constructs effective. The ring fed him. Static barriers ineffective. Adapting. Good, Hal grunted. Because I am very done playing doorstop. The corridor twisted mid-fight, segments rotating like parts in a cruel puzzle box. Hal braced himself with a tether of light, heart pounding as floor and ceiling swapped twice. The cultists didn't even stumble. Their prayers never stopped. Through it all, under it all, he felt something watching him. Not the petty malice of these shipboard zealots. Something larger. A cold, slow leer pressing against his thoughts, testing the edges of his will the way a predator tested the bars of a cage. Ring, Hal muttered. Can Chaos see me? Yes, it said. They are aware of your presence. Multiple entities. One primary. That's comforting, he muttered. The corridor spasmed and vomited him into a chamber so vast his eyes refused to focus on all of it at once. At its center, suspended in a lattice of bone and chain, hung the sorcerer. She had been human. Long ago. Now her skin glowed with thin veins of warp light. Symbols crawled across her arms like ink trying to escape. 3 eyes, each a different color, fixed on him. You shine so brightly, she said. Her voice was 3 voices, echoing just out of sync. A little engine of will, wound tight by frightened gods who confuse order with chains. You are far from your cage, little lamp. Lady, Hal said, if you think you're the first thing to tell me the ring's a prison, you're gonna have to get in line. He didn't wait for more banter. Talking to things like this was never a good idea. Every second you listen was a hook in your mind. He conjured a cannon the size of a semi-truck over his shoulder. It materialized with a satisfying thrum, barrel glowing as it charged a shell of compressed, focused wool lined with logic, wrapped in structure. He fired. The projectile crossed the distance in a heartbeat, leaving a contrail of green fire. It hit the bone cage and for an instant reality screamed, not metaphorically. The chamber flickered through a dozen impossible variations, each one worse than the last. Then the cage exploded, shards of bone fanning out in a deadly halo. The sorcerer laughed. The fragments reversed mid-flight, twisting themselves into a new form, a bone serpent, longer than a city bus, skull-studded with horns that had never belonged to any mortal beast. It lunged. Hal threw up a shield disc without thinking. The serpent hit and bit down. The shield held for a second, maybe less. Then the serpent's teeth dug past geometry, straight into the idea of the construct, and the shield shattered into a shower of screaming sparks. "Charge at 11%, the ring warned. The sorcerer drifted closer, unbound now, her feet a suggestion above the breathing floor. The air warped around her, colors thickening, sounds coming a half-second late. "You resist," she said, almost approving. "That is what they built you for. Resistance. Stubbornness masquerading as virtue. Tell me, little light, did they ever ask whether the will they harness is truly yours? Or are you just another slave with better armor?" Hal gritted his teeth. He could feel her words trying to sink in, to find purchase in every old doubt he'd ever shoved into a corner. The times he'd argued with the Guardians. The times he'd watched them sacrifice a few for the greater balance. The times he'd wondered if the core really represented what he believed or just what they wanted. His ring surged, projecting a flare of green inside his head, a counter-pattern, a firewall of remembered victories, of lives saved, of worlds that still existed because of the core. "Warning," it said. "Cognitive intrusion attempt. Mitigating. Recommend focusing on core oath." Hal took a breath. And out. "In brightest day," he murmured. The words were an anchor. A spine. "In blackest night." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. The ring pulsed, latching onto the unfinished mantra, feeding strength from it. He pushed. He tried another shield. This one wasn't a wall. It was a mirror. A disk of polished emerald, its surface not just reflective but argumentative. A statement, "Whatever hit me goes back." The sorcerer's next attack wasn't fire or lightning. It was something more abstract, a wave of wrongness, a concept of burning, aimed at his existence. His ring tagged it as an ontological assault. The sort of thing that turned men into ideas and ideas into ash. It hit the mirror. For a moment, the force bent around the construct, seeking cracks. The ring shivered. The mirror screamed. Then it caught and rebounded, ricocheting back at the sorcerer. Her eyes widened. The blast slammed into her, tearing strips of warp light off her form. Reality around her rippled like disturbed water. The bone serpent spasmed, teeth scraping across the chamber floor. "Clever," she hissed. Her three eyes realigned, fixing on him with a new, colder focus. "You learn. You adapt. That makes you dangerous and valuable." Hal's ring flashed 9%. He couldn't win this by playing her game. Every exchange drained him faster than it hurt her. Think Jordan. She exists halfway in and halfway out of reality, using the warp to slide around causality. As long as she smeared across probabilities, his constructs would keep slipping. He needed to nail her down. Force her into one state. Make her pick a side. He'd never tried building a construct that wasn't just shape, but rule. Well, there was a first time for everything. He poured power into his hand. 7, 6. The ring heated against his skin. Images flooded his mind, the core archives, barrier fields, containment grids, exotic particle cages. He ignored them. Those were tech. This needed to be philosophy. He imagined a line drawn in space. On one side, real. On the other, not. No maybes. No half-steps. A boundary that didn't just block but defined. A cage of pure definition. The construct sprang into being around the sorcerer. It wasn't bars. It wasn't visible at all, not in the usual way. It was a sphere of perfect geometry, smoother than math, its edges humming with the concept of either slash or. The chamber dimmed around it, like the universe had leaned in to watch. The sorcerer froze. Her form flickered, tried to slide sideways into some other angle of existence, and failed. Her hand hit the inside of the invisible sphere with a very mundane, very real slap. "What have you done?" she spat. Her words were single now, not layered. "What is this?" "Definition," Hal panted. He could feel his ring hollowing out, energy rushing out of him in a steady torrent. "You want to be missed? Too bad. In there you're flesh." And flesh? He summoned one last construct. A spear, nothing fancy, just an emerald length of sharpened conviction. "Flesh can die." He hurled it. The spear passed through the boundary without resistance. The rules were his after all, and drove through the sorcerer's chest. For a heartbeat, all three of her eyes locked on him. He saw hate there, and fear, and disturbingly a flicker of respect. Then she came apart. Not in gore, in meaning. Her body dissolved into swirling motes of red and violet, the chamber shrieking as its connection to the warp frayed. The bone serpent dropped to the ground, lifeless. The cage of definition collapsed as the thing it contained ceased to be. Hal staggered, ring reading 2%. Outside, the demon cruiser screamed. He felt it in his bones again, a seismic shudder as the metaphysical heart of the ship was ripped out. The walls convulsed, flesh and steel arguing about which one they wanted to be. Gravity flipped twice in 5 seconds. Fire poured from vents that didn't exist a moment before. "Structural collapse imminent," the ring said. "Recommend immediate egress." "No kidding," Hal spit. He threw himself back the way he'd come, propelled by a ragged flight aura. Corridors lunged at him, mouths opening where bulkheads had been. Statues reached for him with stone hands. Whispers clawed at his ears, begging him to stop, to rest, to just listen for a second. He didn't. He couldn't. Light flickered around him. 1%. The hole he'd drilled through the hull yawned ahead. Now a jagged maw belching warp-tainted fire. He wrapped what was left of his will around himself and Dove. He burst out into space, trailing flames that weren't really flames, and felt the ring finally, mercifully give up. The green aura winked out. Sudden, honest vacuum grabbed him, ripped the breath from his lungs. Sound vanished. Heat fled. He tumbled through blackness, absolutely, violently mortal. He had time for one thought. So this is how. A beam caught him. In another life, another universe, he would have called it a tractor beam. Here, the tau gravitic tether felt like a giant invisible hand, fingers closing around his collapsing existence, hauling him toward Firewatch 3 with gentle, irresistible force. His vision narrowed to a tunnel. Faces blurred above him, blue skin, white armor, something pressed over his mouth and nose, flooding his chest with cold oxygen. He heard Kai's voice, distant and oddly serene. Target destroyed. Primary chaos vessel destabilizing. Escorts breaking formation. They are withdrawing. Hal tried to say something witty. Came out as a croak, then nothing at all. The darkness rushed in. He woke to white light and the soft hiss of unfamiliar machines. The room was small, clean, and smelled faintly of antiseptic and something like citrus. His jacket lay folded on a chair. His uniform undersuit was torn, stained with dried blood, some of it his. Some of it probably not. The ring sat on a tray beside the bed. It was dark. "Welcome back," a voice said. Hal turned his head. It felt like it was moving through syrup. An earth-cast medic, paler blue than the fire-cast warriors, softer lines, less armor, watched him from beside a console. Her eyes were tired but alert. "You were clinically dead for 12 seconds, she said matter-of-factly. "Your physiology is resilient." "Pilot training," Hal rasped. "We're stubborn." The door hissed open. Omir stepped in, Kais half a step behind him, armor still dirty from battle, one pauldron scorched black. "You survived," Omir said. There was something in his tone that sounded almost impressed. The demon cruiser did not. When its sorcerer died, its cohesion collapsed. The escort vessels elected not to challenge our guns alone. They fled. For a second Hal let that sink in. So we won, he said. That round. Temporarily, Omir agreed. You made an enemy lantern. Whatever warp entity commanded that sorcerer will not forget. Hal looked at the ring. I'd be more worried if I wasn't basically unarmed, he said. It's empty. I can't feel anything from it. Kavash slipped into the room behind the others, datapad hugged to her chest. We have been studying it, she said, eyes flicking to the ring with unabashed fascination. Your device operates on principles we don't fully understand. It channels will, shapes it, stabilizes it in real space. It is not warp-based, which is unique. Can you charge it? Hal asked. In theory, she said. In practice, the Tau are warp-blind. We have very little psychic presence. That is why chaos finds us inconvenient to corrupt. But, Omir added, we have allies who are not warp-blind. The Nikasa navigators unsettled Hal the first time he saw them. They floated in grav harnesses, their bodies stretched, elongated, eyes large and milky. They were not Tau, not human. Something else entirely, built for one purpose, to see into the warp without collapsing. We guide their ships, one of them had said, voice like wind through broken glass. We read the tides where your storms rise. We do not fight. We endure. Now they circled him in a meditation chamber aboard the photon, their chants harmonizing into a pattern that made the air shimmer. Warning, the ring said quietly. External energy field approaching. Resonance, similar to central battery but weaker. Alignment, partially compatible. Hal sat cross-legged, ring hand resting on his knee. All right, he murmured. Let's see if this universe's ghosts can talk to mine. The Nikasa sang. It wasn't a song in any way humans understood. It was a modulation of thought, a shaping of intent, a carefully controlled leak of will into the warp. They did it every time they guided a ship. This time they shaped it towards something else, a tiny stubborn green point that refused to go out. The ring flickered. A thread of warmth pulsed against his skin. 1%, it said. 2. 3. It felt wrong and right at the same time. Wrong because it wasn't the blinding, roaring furnace of the central battery. Right because it was still will. Not his alone this time, but borrowed, the navigator's determination, their ages-long refusal to break under the stare of hell. The charge climbed to 8% and stopped. The Nikasa sagged in their harnesses, exhausted. One of them looked at him, eyes unfocused. We are limited, it said. This is all we can give without burning. The rest must come from you. It's enough, Hal said and meant it. He stood later on the observation deck, ring humming gently, Volos turning below like a jewel. The world was strange. Alien. Its cities stepped and layered, its fields growing crops he didn't recognize, its skies patrolled by sleek Tau craft. He felt protective of it. That bothered him a little. You are thinking of home, Omir said, joining him at the viewport. Always, Hal said. But I'm also thinking, this place kind of sucks. Omir tilted his head. The ever-present threat of demon invasions, yes, he said dryly. Not just that, Hal said. You fight a forever war against gods who eat emotions. The humans here worship a corpse. Your empire runs on a philosophy that tells people exactly where they belong and expects them to smile about it. Everything is drowning in some kind of fanaticism. Hope is treated like a naive luxury. He exhaled slowly, watching his breath fog the glass for just a second before the climate control swallowed it. Back home things are bad sometimes, he went on. But we believe they can get better. Here it feels like everyone believes they'll get worse, and the best you can do is slow it down. That is accurate, Omir said. And yet we still fight. Yeah, Hal said. And that's the part one recognize. He tapped the ring lightly against the glass. If there's a way to get back to my universe, he said, I'll find it. One day. But until then, I'm not walking away from this. You need someone who still believes you can win. Even if you don't. Omir's mouth did that small almost smile again. It will make the Ethereal Council very happy to hear that, he said. They will have many questions. They will want to know exactly how your ring works and whether it can be replicated, and whether your will serves the greater good. Hal snorted. Tell them my will serves people, he said. Not philosophies, not gods, not councils, people. Omir's eyes studied him for a long beat. Chaos will not like you, he said at last. They prefer their toys obedient. Story of my life, Hal said. He managed to sleep that night. Deep, dreamless, the kind of sleep that comes after you've nearly died and your body decides it's allowed to collapse for a bit. The second night he wasn't so lucky. He woke standing in his quarters. He didn't remember getting up. The door in front of him was open. That was wrong. He always sealed his quarters. Beyond the threshold, the photon's hallway was gone. In its place sprawled a city that made his eyes hurt. Spires of brass and bone climbed into a sky choked with smoke and blood-red clouds. Rivers of something that might have been molten metal, might have been worse, carved through streets paved with faces, their mouths open in silent screams. Armies marched along those streets, warriors in red armor, horns sprouting from helms, axes dripping black ichor that sizzled where it fell. Every step they took beat a word into the air. Kill, kill, kill. This is not real, Hal said, voice steady by force. This is a vision, an intrusion. If it were real, the ring would it? The voice came from behind him, not through his ears, in his skull. He turned. The figure that stood in the doorway hadn't been there a second before. It was tall. Taller than any human, taller than most of the Tau. Its armor was a grotesque parody of warrior plate, brass and red iron fused to flesh, runes of corn burning across its surface. A helm crowned with horns hid its face. From the eye slits burned twin coals of hateful light. The sword in its hand was wrong. Not just sharp, hungry. The air bent greedily toward it. I am Orketh the Exalted, it said. Herald of the Blood God. Slayer of 10,000. Bearer of the mark that burns. Each title was a hammer blow. You killed my sorcerer Little Light. You crippled my ship. You spat in the eye of our worship. For that, I come to claim your skull. The ring's interface flashed frantic warnings. Caution. Psychic projection of demon entity. Reality anchor, low. Lethality, uncertain but potential high if believed. Believed, Hal thought. So the ring is telling me my faith in this vision affects how much it can hurt me. Great. I don't recognize your authority, he said, lifting his hand. A construct shield formed, out of sheer habit. I don't acknowledge your God. And I sure as hell don't fear you. The demon's helm tilted. The laughing city behind it flickered as if amused. Fear is the tool of other gods, Orketh said. We need no such weakness. We care only that you bleed, that your death sings loudly in the warp. The Tau cling to their greater good, like children clutching toys. They will break. And when they do, I will make them watch as I grind you into paste on their sacred soil. The vision collapsed like a popped bubble. 1 second Hal was staring at a city of screams. The next he stood alone in his sealed quarters on the photon, door locked, lights dimmed. The ring reported no anomalies. His hands shook anyway. He reported it to Omir. The commander's face grew grim as Hal spoke, every detail noted. You have been marked, Omir said when he finished. Orketh is not a minor demon. He has led 3 major incursions into Tau space. We believed him banished after we destroyed his last warband at great cost. Well, Hal said. Surprise. He's back. And he's got my name on a list. If he has targeted you personally, Omir went on, he will not be content to kill you. He will seek to corrupt you. To turn your ring. To twist your will until it serves his god. If he can make the symbol of your order march in his name, it will be a wound in the psyche of this galaxy that may never close. Hal swallowed. And tactically? He asked. Tactically, Omir said. It means the next time he comes, he will bring more than 3 ships. 6 days later, the sky over Volos tore open. Warp signatures bloomed across every Tau sensor screen in system. Not 3. 23. Fleet translation. The intelligence officer reported on the command deck of the Photon, voice clipped. Mass profile. 1 battleship, 8 cruisers, 14 escorts. Primary vessel matches data for Chaos Warship designation. Throne of Skulls. Hal didn't like the sound of that. The hololith made it worse. The battleship was a space hulk, an agglomeration of ships, rock and demonic flesh welded together, bigger than some moons. It drifted forward with lazy, arrogant momentum, weapon spires bristling, its hull crawling with movement. On open Vox channels, a voice boomed. Talvier, Orketh roared. You who hide behind your good. Hear me? I have come for my due. Give me the lantern, the green spark who dared kill my servant, and I will withdraw. Refuse, and I will fill your deserts with rivers of blood. Your philosophy will drown in it. Omir muted the transmission. Fleet disposition? He asked. The Earth cast officer pulled up comparison charts. Tau icons flickered in blue, chaos in blood red. We have 11 vessels, they said. They have 23. Their flagship outranges our heaviest guns. If we go toe-to-toe in void combat, we lose. Slowly. Inevitably. Hal listened, felt the weight of Orketha's offer, sitting in his gut like a stone. He could walk out. He could fly a shuttle to the edge of the system, light himself up like a beacon, and let the demon come. Maybe Orketh would keep his word. Maybe he wouldn't. That wasn't the point. The point was, if Hal surrendered, he'd be caught alone. With no backup. With a ring that was barely at a quarter of its usual strength on a good day. With an enemy who specialized in twisting strength into its own reflection. He'd seen what chaos did to psychers in the Tau archives. Knights of shining orders turned into meat puppets for screaming gods. If Orketh got his hands on a Green Lantern ring... Oh, Hal looked at Omir. I'm not going, he said. He doesn't want me dead. He wants me broken. If he gets that, you lose a lantern and gain a demon wearing my uniform. Hard pass. Omir studied him. Your presence increases our risk, he said. We could give him to you, and perhaps he would honor his word long enough for us to reposition our fleets too. He won't, Hal cut in. He doesn't care about strategy. He cares about worship. You hand me over, he kills me slowly, then turns around and kills you anyway because that's what his god wants. There is no deal here. Silence hung heavy for a heartbeat. Then Omir's ears flattened and what Hal had learned meant decision. Agreed, the commander said. We fight. All cadres to battle stations. Civilians to shelters. Bring the hammerhead wings to readiness. He glanced at Hal. You, Lantern Jordan, are going to the surface. Wait, what? If Orketh wants you, Omir said, he will come where you are. Better he comes to a prepared defensive position than rampage freely in orbit. Shield Station Cowan will be your ground. Firecast cadres will hold with you. Hal thought of the Demon Prince's promise, the vision of Volos burning. Right, he said. So we're going to pick the ground for the apocalypse. Great. The drop pod was essentially a metal coffin with attitude. Hal lay strapped inside it, his shoulders squeezed by armored plating, his ring interfacing with the pod systems just enough to peek through its external sensors. The planet rushed up beneath him, desert and city and glittering arcologies, wrapped in thin bands of cloud. Lance beams streaked past, chaos fire from orbit, angry spears of light trying to pick off the pods before they hit. One carved past close enough to make the pod shake like a toy. Impact in 30 seconds, the pod systems chirped. Ring, Hal muttered. When we hit, spin me a cushion. Affirmative, it said. Construct, kinetic dampening mesh. Estimated charge cost, 2%. Ouch, Hal said. Do it anyway. The pod slammed into atmosphere. fire wrapped around it in an orange sheath. For a few seconds Hal could see nothing but flame. Then the friction died, replaced by the higher howl of terminal velocity. The pod's grav brakes kicked in, dragging its speed from splatter to merely hospital visit. At 50 meters, the ring's construct unfurled, a layered net that filled the interior, spreading the force of impact over more space. Hal waited until the demons closed within his ring's optimal range. Then he raised his hand. A battery of emerald cannons manifested along the wall, each one swiveling on invisible mounts. They fired in staggered volleys, shells of structured wool detonating in the air above bloodletter packs. The effect wasn't like conventional explosives. The constructs burst with a sound like a bell tolling, a ringing assertion of order that ripped the demons apart, their forms unraveling into screaming vapor that whipped back toward the warp. Charge dropped, 2%, 1.8. He clenched his jaw. No waste. No showing off. Every construct had to count. He shifted to a single heavy hammer, brought it swinging down like a divine fist on a cluster of traitor Marines who'd pushed closer than the others. The hammer smashed 3 of them into the sand, their armor bending inward like it had been punched by a tank. The hammer cracked. His ring let it collapse into light, reclaiming what few scraps of charge it could. And then Orketh came. The sky tore, a wound opening not in the atmosphere but in the air over the battlefield. Through it stepped the demon prince, larger than he had been in the vision, his blade bleeding smoke, his armor crusted with dried, impossible blood. He landed with a shockwave that knocked cultists sprawling. Those he flattened didn't scream. They cheered. "Lantern," he roared. His voice rode the sound of battle, reached Hal as clearly as if he whispered in his ear. "Come out, little light, or I will crack this shell and pull you out of the rubble. Your choice." "Stay on the walls," Kai snapped. "He wants you in the open." "Yeah," Hal said. "And if I stay up here he'll tear this place apart just to get me. Up on the tower I'm a target with fewer options. On the ground," he swallowed. "On the ground at least I can move." "It is suicide," Kai said. "Maybe," Hal answered. "But this isn't a fair fight either way. Tell your gunners to hit him the second I give you an opening." He didn't wait for further argument. He stepped off the wall. The ring burned its last decent chunk of charge on a flight aura, launching him in a green streak toward the demon prince. Orketh watched him come, mouths in the armor splitting open, laughing. The sword came around in a scything arc. Hal threw up a shield, the strongest he could muster, a layered disk of overlapping hexagons, each one a tiny oath of defiance. The blade hit. The impact jarred more than his arms. It slammed into something deeper, his identity, his belief that Will could stand up to anything. He felt Khorne's rage grinding against the core's philosophy, hatred trying to trump stubbornness. The shield lasted a fraction of a second. Fragments of green light flew out in all directions. The sword kept coming. Hal twisted, air whipping past him as the blade sliced through where his chest had just been, carving a burning trail in his aura. He answered with desperation. Blades, chains, harpoons. A dozen constructs lanced at Orketh from every angle. Each one hit, dug in, and then slid off as if biting fog. The demons swatted them aside like annoying insects. Hal summoned a spear, put everything he had left into it, and hurled it straight at the demon's chest. It struck. For the first time Orketh reacted, pausing as the spear hit, head dipping slightly. Then his gauntlet hand closed around the shaft, crushing the construct into useless motes. "Is this all?" he asked. The ring went dark. Hal's flight aura hiccuped. Gravity grabbed him, dragging him down. Sand rushed up with alarming speed. He hit hard enough to knock the breath out of him, the impact rolling him in a cloud of dust. He staggered back to his feet, chest burning, vision doubled for a heartbeat. He had nothing. No ring. No constructs. Just his body, his training, and a demon prince striding toward him through the storm of fire, shrugging off railgun impacts like rain. Countless guns roared, hammering Orketh with everything they had. Slugs cratered his armor. Missile detonations wrapped him in fire. For a second, Hal dared hope the constant punishment would slow the prince long enough. A rail shot from a hammerhead gunship screamed in from the flank, mass accelerated to obscene speed. It hit Orketh in the shoulder. The demon staggered. Another shot followed, nailing his knee. He dropped to one leg, the sand beneath him splattering as molten ichor spilled out. Hal looked back. Kais stood atop Cowanus' wall, armor bright against the smoke, directing fire with precise, ruthless efficiency. One of the hammerheads floated just outside the wall, its massive rail gun still humming from discharge. "Fall back!" Kais roared, his voice amplified over the battlefield. "Lantern, move. Now!" Hal didn't argue. He ran. Behind him, Orketh rose out of the barrage like an avalanche forcing itself uphill. His wounds smoked, flesh knitting faster than it should, his sword carving craters in the sand as he trudged forward, every step a promise of violence. Hal dove through Cowanus' gate as it slid open just enough to admit him, stumbled, felt hands grab him, Tau gauntlets, dragging him inside as the gate slammed shut. The world dissolved into chaos. The demons didn't bother climbing the walls anymore. They flickered straight into the courtyards, bypassing defenses through warped tiers, their blades hungry for close combat. Cultists hurled themselves at kill zones, their deaths building literal piles against the walls. Chaos Marines breached in small squads, their presence like a mobile apocalypse. Hal fought with a borrowed pulse rifle, shoulder to shoulder with Kais cadre. The weapon felt crude compared to a ring, but its purpose was pure: point, fire, repeat. Plasma bolts burned through demon flesh, turning it to steam and screaming vapor. He missed the ring. He missed the simple, arrogant certainty that whatever problem stood in front of him, he could build a solution. Now every shot counted. Every step backward had to be intentional. Lantern, Kais snapped as they ducked behind a shattered barricade, demon blood sizzling on the stone. Without your weapon you are not the spear. You are the shield. You understand? Hal glanced at him. These people have fought chaos for decades, Kais said. We have lost worlds. We have held lines. Hope is not a word we use lightly. But when you flew out there, when you boarded that ship, when you stood in front of Orketh, my warriors saw something. Not invincibility, but refusal. That matters. He wants you because you symbolize order that does not bend. He wants to break that symbol. Do not let him. Even if I die? Hal asked. Especially if you die, Kais said. Death is common. Defeat is a message. Do not give him that message. The battle stretched into a blur. Hours? Minutes? Time dissolved into a series of moments. A fire warrior falling with a bolter round through his chest, his comrade stepping over his body without breaking stride. A pack of bloodletters charging straight into a cluster of rail drones and being torn to pieces in a storm of hypervelocity metal. A cultist slipping through a crack in the defenses, lunging at Hal with a knife that whispered in his ear, and Hal catching the wrist, twisting, using the man's own momentum to break his arm before shooting him point blank. At some point the order to fall back came. Cowan cannot hold. Omir's voice came over the battered comm system. All units execute fighting retreat to secondary positions. Evacuation complete. Cowan is now expendable. Kais relayed the orders, his voice as calm as if he were reading a training schedule. They withdrew in staged leaps, squads covering each other, Cowan's internal charges primed. When the last Tau cleared the outer bastions, Kais triggered the detonations. The firebase didn't go quietly. Charges planted in key structural points ripped the walls inward, collapsing entire sections on top of advancing chaos forces. Munition stores cooked off in a chain reaction, turning Cowan into a cratered mess of debris and fire. Orketh rose out of the inferno, wreathed in flame, roaring in a voice that shook the desert. "This is not over, Lantern," he bellowed, his sword pointed at the retreating Tau column, at Hal limping amid them, rifles slung in ring dark. You will kneel. If not today, then tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then at the end of all things. Your light will gutter. All lights do. Yeah. Hal muttered under his breath. Come make me. He couldn't spit construct fire into the demon's face. He couldn't fly out there and swing hammers until his arms gave out. All he could do was turn, look at the warriors marching beside him, exhausted, diminished, but not broken, and keep walking. Survival, he thought, wasn't glamorous. It was just choosing to take one more step. In the days that followed, Volos became a world on a knife's edge. Chaos forces dug in around the crater where Cowan had been, a red wound in the desert. Tau Command shifted assets, drew lines, built new layers of defense. Omir worked without sleep. Kais reported casualty lists with the same steady voice he'd used to crack jokes in a shuttle. Hal meditated. He sat in whatever quiet corners he could find, a storage bay, a landing platform at dawn, the corner of a barracks where exhausted fire warriors snored, and focused on the ring. He remembered every time he'd stood alone in front of overwhelming force. Every time he'd been told you can't, and done it anyway. Every time he'd doubted and done it anyway. Slowly, painfully, the charge crept up. 9%. 10. Well, not enough to win a war. Enough to make Orketh work for every wound he wanted. He thought about the greater good. About a philosophy that believed individuals existed to feed something larger. About a core that sometimes acted like it believed the same thing. About the warp gods who took that idea and twisted it into a joke. He thought about will. Not as obedience. Not as stubborn pride. As choice. The choice to keep going when it would be easier to quit. The choice to believe in something in a universe that laughed at belief. In darkest place, he thought, dragging the words up from somewhere near his bones, in blackest war, when every star feels like an eye watching you fail. No evil shall escape my sight. It was more than a line. It was a refusal. Orketh had marked him. Fine. He'd marked this universe back. Not with victory. Not yet. But with survival. With every small, infuriating act of continued existence in a galaxy that treated hope as heresy. He was a Green Lantern. Stranded. Outnumbered. Outgunned. But not out of will. Not yet.